Imagine you're falling. Not slowly, not the kind of falling you feel in a dream right before you jerk awake. This is real. You are plummeting downward through darkness so complete that your eyes can't even register the absence of light. The pressure around your body is building. Your lungs are compressing. The water is so cold it has moved past pain and entered something closer to silence. And you haven't even reached the bottom yet. In fact, you're not even close. You're barely halfway down. You have miles still to go. Miles of nothing. Miles of dark. Miles of things that haven't been named yet because no human being has ever survived long enough in this place to see them. Welcome to the ocean. The real ocean. Not the turquoise postcard you've been sold your whole life. The real thing. Ancient, alien, and so impossibly vast that scientists are more confident about the surface of Mars than they are about what lies at the bottom of our own seas. And today, on Legacy Untold, we're going down. All the way down. Because what they taught you in school, it was just the beginning. And what lives in the dark below, it will change the way you see this planet forever. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe right now, because Legacy Untold is where the real stories live, the ones that shake you, the ones that stay with you, and the ones that make you look at the world and realize you never actually knew it at all. Like this video, share it with someone who thinks they know everything about the ocean. They don't. Neither did we until now. Let's start with a number. 11 kilometers. That's 36,000 feet, nearly 7 miles straight down. That is the depth of the Mariana Trench, the deepest known point on Earth, a place called Challenger Deep. Now here's what most people don't grasp. If you took Mount Everest, the tallest mountain above sea level, and dropped it into the Mariana Trench, its peak would still be more than a mile underwater. Let that settle for a moment. An entire mountain submerged with room to spare. But here's the thing, and this is where it gets truly unsettling. The Mariana Trench is not even the strangest part of the ocean. It's not the most extreme. It's not the most dangerous. It's just the deepest we know of. Because the truth is, only about 20% of the ocean floor has been mapped in any meaningful detail. 20% in 2024. On a planet where we have satellites orbiting Mars, rovers crawling across the surface of distant worlds, and telescopes peering back at the birth of the universe, we have mapped less of our own ocean floor than we have of the moon. Think about that. We know more about the craters of a dead rock 238,000 miles away than we know about what exists at the bottom of the water that covers 71% of our home. And the reason for this isn't laziness or lack of interest, it's that the ocean is, in the most literal sense, one of the most hostile environments that has ever existed. The pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is roughly 1,100 times the pressure at sea level. That means if you somehow descended there without protection, your body would not merely be crushed, it would be compressed into something unrecognizable in a fraction of a second. The water temperature hovers just above freezing. There is no sunlight, none. The sun, which powers almost every living system on the surface of this planet, is completely irrelevant in the deep ocean. It stops penetrating the water at about 200 meters. The Mariana Trench begins at nearly 6,000 meters. Everything that lives down there has evolved without the concept of light, without the concept of warmth, without the concept of anything we would recognize as life-sustaining. And yet, things live there. That's the part that should keep you up at night. In 1977, scientists aboard a research vessel called the Alvin descended to the ocean floor near the Galapagos Islands and made a discovery so shocking that it fundamentally rewrote everything we thought we knew about life itself. They found hydrothermal vents, cracks in the ocean floor where superheated water, rich with chemicals and minerals, erupted from the Earth's crust. The water coming out of these vents can reach temperatures of over 400 degrees Celsius. In an environment with no sunlight, no photosynthesis, no connection to the sun-powered food chain that drives nearly every other ecosystem on this planet, life was thriving. Tube worms the length of a grown man, ghostly white crabs, shrimp with no eyes, mats of bacteria that fed not on sunlight but on sulfur, an entire ecosystem built on chemistry rather than light, a world within a world, alive, ancient, utterly alien. This discovery didn't just change marine biology, it changed the way we think about life in the universe. Because if life can exist in complete darkness under impossible pressure in boiling, toxic, lightless water, then life can exist anywhere. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn, some of which are believed to have liquid oceans beneath their icy surfaces, Europa, Enceladus, suddenly became candidates. Suddenly, the equation changed. Suddenly, the ocean at the bottom of our own planet became the closest analog we have to an alien world, and we've barely explored it. But let's come back to Earth for a moment, because the deep ocean isn't just scientifically fascinating, it is actively terrifying in ways that are difficult to put into words. Consider the blobfish, a creature you've probably seen mocked in internet memes, a grotesque, drooping pink face of misery. What most people don't realize is that the blobfish you know is a lie. When you bring a blobfish up from the deep ocean, the rapid decrease in pressure causes its body to deform. At depth, around 3,000 feet below the surface, the blobfish is perfectly ordinary-looking fish. It only becomes that famous melting nightmare face when it's hauled into a world with the wrong amount of pressure. The blobfish isn't ugly, the surface world just breaks it. And there's something quietly devastating about that. Then there is the barreleye fish, a creature so bizarre that when researchers first captured footage of it, they weren't sure it was real. Its head is transparent, not see-through in a vague, translucent way, genuinely, completely transparent. You can see right through the dome of its skull to the glowing green tubes inside that serve as its eyes. And those eyes can rotate. They can look forward or straight up through its own skull. It uses them to spot the silhouettes of prey above it against the faint glow filtering down from the surface. This animal is the closest thing to science fiction that actually exists in the real world, and it lives in the midnight zone of the Pacific Ocean, cruising through the darkness looking up through its own head. The midnight zone. That's what oceanographers call the layer of ocean between 1,000 and 4,000 meters. No sunlight, near freezing temperatures, crushing pressure, and absolutely teeming with life. The anglerfish lives here. The one with the glowing lure dangling in front of its face, the one that looks like a nightmare given flesh. What you may not know is that the anglerfish lure doesn't just glow, it glows through a process called bioluminescence, powered by symbiotic bacteria living inside the lure itself. The fish doesn't generate the light, it hosts something that does. It is in partnership with living light. And across the deep ocean, bioluminescence is not the exception, it is the rule. Scientists now estimate that roughly 76% of deep-sea creatures produce their own light. 76%. The deep ocean isn't a dark void. It is a slow-motion light show of alien creatures signaling to each other, luring prey, communicating through flashes and pulses in a language we don't yet understand. And speaking of things we don't understand, in 1997, researchers monitoring underwater sound picked up something extraordinary, an ultra-low frequency sound of enormous amplitude, rising from somewhere deep in the South Pacific. They called it the Bloop. It was loud enough to be detected by sensors thousands of miles apart. It didn't match any known geological activity. It didn't match any known animal. For years, it was one of the ocean's great unsolved mysteries. Eventually, scientists concluded it was likely the sound of a large ice quake, a fracturing of Antarctic ice, but the bloop became something larger than its explanation. It became a symbol of how much noise the ocean makes that we're only now beginning to hear, and how many sounds down there remain unidentified. The ocean is talking, we just haven't learned the language. In 2012, filmmaker James Cameron, yes, the director of Titanic and Avatar, descended solo to the bottom of the Mariana Trench in a specially designed submarine called the Deep Sea Challenger. He became only the third person in history to reach Challenger Deep. He reported something unexpected. He expected an explosion of alien life, a vibrant, teeming deep-sea ecosystem. Instead, he found something closer to a desert. Vast, flat, almost featureless, a lunar landscape of pale sediment stretching in every direction. And then, just at the edge of his lights, something moved, a small, translucent creature, a shrimp-like amphipod, alive in the deepest place on Earth, alone in the expanse. He described the experience as profoundly lonely, the loneliest place he'd ever been. And James Cameron has been to space, metaphorically speaking. He has been to the Titanic. He has been to some of the most remote and extreme environments on this planet, and the deepest place in the ocean made him feel more alone than any of them. But perhaps what's most extraordinary about the deep ocean isn't the creatures or the sounds or the alien geology. It's the time. The ocean is old in a way that is almost impossible to communicate. The sediment at the bottom of the deep ocean accumulates at a rate of about 1 centimeter every 1,000 years. 1 centimeter per millennium, which means the layers sitting at the floor of the abyssal plain are a geological record going back millions of years. Every mass extinction, every asteroid impact, every dramatic shift in the planet's climate, it's all recorded down there in compressed layers of ancient mud waiting to be read. When scientists drill into deep-sea sediment cores, they aren't just doing marine biology, they are reading the diary of the Earth. And some of what they've found there, in sediment laid down tens of millions of years ago, are microbial communities that are still alive. Bacteria that have been in a state of metabolic suspension for millions of years, consuming nutrients from the sediment one molecule at a time, still technically living, still technically part of the biosphere. The deep ocean may be home to more biomass than the entire surface of the planet. Some estimates suggest the microbial life beneath the ocean floor, beneath the sediment itself, inside the rock, may represent more living material than all the plants and animals above ground combined. The deep ocean isn't just part of the biosphere, it may be the majority of it, and we've barely scratched the surface. We're at a point in history where a billionaire can spend 20 minutes in a luxury capsule at the edge of space and call it exploration, where Mars rovers send back high-definition selfies and we celebrate them, rightly, as the pinnacle of human achievement. But 7 miles below your feet, in water that covers most of this planet, creatures are living, dying, evolving, communicating, and building ecosystems that we have never seen. Sounds are echoing through the dark that we have not identified. Geological systems are at work that we don't fully understand. And at the very bottom, there may be forms of life so fundamentally different from what we've categorized on the surface that calling them fish or animals or even life as we define it might be insufficient. The ocean is not just deeper than we thought. It is stranger, it is older, it is more alive, and it is sending signals that we're only now beginning to notice. The next decade of deep ocean exploration may be the most consequential scientific endeavor in human history, not because of what we'll find, but because of what finding it will do to our understanding of what life actually is, what this planet actually is, and what might be out there in the dark waters of other worlds. So the next time you stand at the shore and look out at the horizon, know this: that water goes down, way down, past the sunlight, past the warmth, past everything you recognize as familiar. And somewhere, far below your feet, in a world older than memory and darker than imagination, something is moving through the black, lit by its own light, alive in a way we don't fully understand yet, and it has been there the whole time. If this video made you look at the ocean differently, if it cracked something open in you, then you're exactly where you're supposed to be. This is Legacy Untold. We go deep so you don't have to. Hit subscribe, leave a like, and let us know in the comments what part of the deep ocean terrifies you most, because we're not done going down, not even close.